Welcome back to Infra Explained, Episode 3. Today we're tackling a term you've probably seen plastered across job postings and engineering blogs, CI/CD. Think of it as the assembly line for your code, a system that automatically builds, tests, and ships every change you make safely and fast. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what those four letters really mean and why teams swear by them. So before we get to the shiny solution, let's sit with the problem for a second. The old way looks like this. You build on your laptop, run a couple of tests, copy files to the server, and quietly hope nothing breaks. Manual steps invite human mistakes. Big bang releases tend to snap things in half. And bugs sneak in late where they're painful to trace. So the question almost asks itself, what if every code change was built, tested, and shipped the exact same safe way every single time? That right there is the CI/CD pipeline. So here's the whole idea in one sentence. CI/CD is an automated pipeline that builds, tests, and ships your code on every change, safely and repeatably. The CI half, continuous integration, means you're constantly merging and testing small changes instead of letting them pile up. The CD half handles delivery and deployment automatically, following the exact same steps every time. Think of it as an assembly line for software. No heroics, no surprises. Let's split that assembly line in half. Continuous integration is about the question, does the code still work together? Every time a developer merges a change, the system rebuilds and runs the tests, so bugs surface in minutes instead of weeks. Continuous delivery picks up where CI leaves off. Once those tests pass, the change is automatically packaged, ready to release, or push straight to production. One half asks if it works, the other gets it to users safely and fast. To make that concrete, picture a car factory. Each station along the line does exactly one job. Bolt this on, check that tolerance, paint this panel, and the car only moves forward when the previous step passes inspection. CI/CD is the same idea for software. The pipeline is your assembly line. Each stage builds or tests a piece. Automated checks play the role of quality control, and what rolls off the end is a release deployed to your users, built the same way every single time. So let's walk that assembly line end to end. A change starts at commit, gets compiled at build, runs through your test suite, is bundled into a package, a container, a binary, whatever your artifact is, and finally gets deployed out to an environment. The first three stages, commit through test, that's the CI half, continuous integration. Package and deploy are the CD half, continuous delivery. And the golden rule, if any stage fails, the pipeline stops cold and tells you exactly where. Now, what actually kicks this assembly line into motion? You don't. That's the whole point. The pipeline listens for events in your Git repo and fires on its own. A push to a feature branch runs the build and tests. Opening a pull request validates the change before anyone merges it. And a merge to main goes all the way through to packaging and deploy. Nobody has to remember to press a button. And here's the surprising part. That whole automated assembly line is just a text file. This is a real GitHub Actions workflow, a trigger at the top, a job that spins up a fresh Ubuntu machine, and 3 steps: install, test, build. If the tests fail, everything stops right there. And because it lives in the repo, your pipeline is versioned and reviewed like any other piece of code. So why go through all this trouble to set up CI in the first place? 4 big payoffs. You catch bugs early because tests run on every single commit instead of piling up for weeks. Your main branch stays green, meaning you could ship it at any moment. Changes stay small and safe. Tiny merges are easy to review and easy to revert if something slips through. And the feedback is fast, minutes, not days, before you know whether you broke something. Now here's where things get interesting, because CD actually stands for 2 different things. Continuous delivery means every passing change gets automatically built, tested, and packaged up, ready to ship at a moment's notice. but a human still pushes the final button to release it. Continuous deployment goes one step further. If it passes the tests, it goes straight to your users. No approval, no hand on the liver, same acronym. Very different level of trust in your pipeline. So once you trust your pipeline to ship, the next question is how you ship. And there are a few classic patterns. Rolling deployments swap out instances a handful at a time, like quietly rotating staff during a shift. Blue-green keeps a fresh copy waiting in the wings and flips traffic over in one move. Canary sends just a trickle of users to the new version first, watching for trouble before ramping up. And rollback? That's your undo button. One click back to the last version you know was healthy. So let's zoom out and watch the whole flow in one pass. You push your code to Git. That's the starting gun. CI picks it up, builds it, runs the test suite, and if everything's green, it packages the result into a Docker image. Then CD takes that image and rolls it out to Kubernetes, where it goes live to real users. Docker packages it, Kubernetes runs it, and CI/CD is the conveyor belt that quietly moves your code through both, safely, repeatably, automatically. Now, before we go further, let's clear up a few myths that trip people up. First, CI/CD isn't something you just install. The tool runs the pipeline, but it's small, commits, and solid tests that actually make it work. Second, continuous delivery doesn't mean every change rockets straight to production. That's continuous deployment. Delivery still keeps a human in the loop. And finally, more automation isn't automatically safer. If your tests are weak, all you've done is ship bugs faster. Speaking of safety, let's talk about hardening the pipeline itself, because automation only helps if it isn't an open door. The basics: keep secrets in a vault rather than checking them into YAML, scan your dependencies and container images, sign and verify your build artifacts, and tightly control who can edit the pipeline. And on the flip side, avoid the classics: hard-coded API keys, untrusted code running as admin, skipping tests just this once, or handing out deploy credentials that can touch everything. So, which tools will you actually run into out there? If you live in GitHub, Actions is right there built in. GitLab has its own CI baked in too. Jenkins is the grizzled veteran, endlessly flexible, still everywhere. Circle CI and Travis are popular hosted options for teams that just want pipelines to work. And Argo CD takes a different angle, syncing your Git repo straight into Kubernetes the GitOps way. Different flavors, same promise: safe, repeatable, automatic shipping. So let's pull the big ideas together. CI/CD is really just automation for build, test, and ship. Every single change, every time. CI keeps integrating and testing constantly. CD takes care of getting it out the door, either with a human pressing the button or fully on autopilot. Your pipeline lives as config right next to your code, so it's versioned and reviewable. And remember, this whole machine is only as trustworthy as the tests you write and the secrets you protect. Now, if all of this feels like a lot, here's the good news. You don't build it all at once. Start with just CI. Run your tests on every push. Nothing fancier. Once that's solid, add a build step that packages a Docker image when tests pass. Then wire up automatic deploys to a staging environment so you can poke at real changes safely. And only when you genuinely trust the pipeline, add production, ideally with a human approval gate. Small steps, real confidence. If you want to keep going from here, the Infra Explained series digs into the pieces we've touched on: Docker, Kubernetes, CI/CD itself, infrastructure as code, and how containers really differ from VMs. And one topic worth a closer look: securing the pipeline. Remember, your pipeline holds the keys to production: secrets, deploy access, signing credentials. A compromised pipeline is a compromised app, so hardening it isn't optional. You'll find both tracks over at dargslan.com/courses. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. How often are you actually shipping? Is it daily, multiple times a day, or more of a deploy when it's scary situation? And what does your CI/CD stack look like? GitHub Actions, GitLab, Jenkins, something homegrown? Drop a comment below. I read them, and honestly, those answers shape where this series goes next. And that's a wrap. Docker, Kubernetes, and CI/CD, three big pieces of the infrastructure puzzle, demystified. If this clicked for you, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of Infra Explained, and swing by dargslan.com for deeper write-ups. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.